I think we're getting ready to bring on our next panelist. So if you want to say hello, Fabian, as the next group comes in.
Hey, everyone.
Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. I'll pass it over to Samantha to do an introduction. And yeah, looking forward to our next session.
Yeah, I'm so excited. This is a really big one, building industry consensus around standards. We wouldn't be here if we weren't doing this. So I'm really excited to have one of our members here at the WebXR, the Poly Awards, Sophia Moshasha. She's also the VP of the DC chapter of the VR/AR Association. We have Youngren joining us. He's a chair from the IEEE VR/AR Standards Committee. Neil Trevett, he's the president of Kronos Group. He's the VP of development of ecosystems at Nvidia. I mean, this is such a stacked panel. I can't even get through it without being like, wow. At Sushi Shimono, he's from the W3C and Kilo University. And we also have Daniel Ljunggren. Did I say that right? Senior Director of Strategy and Business Development at FutureWay, our Galaxy sponsor here. Everybody here is so passionate about standards and building consensus in the community. This is one of the conversations I was looking forward to all day, so I won't take up any more of your time. Take it away, Sophia. Thank you.
Thank you, Samantha. And as Samantha said, my name is Sophia Moshasha, and I am part of the production team here. And I'm stepping in for Dr. June Wang of FutureWay. She was supposed to moderate this panel, but was unable to join us today. So thank you, June Wang, and I hope to make you proud today. So the process of graduating a specification to a standard is so complex and involves so much work that we want to create greater awareness of this process. So I'm joined by some great panelists that are advocating for the adoption of WebXR specification to become a standard to allow developers to run experiences that are compatible across browser platforms. So for our audience, please add in any questions that you have in the chat in Discord. And if we have time left, I'll bring them up here during the panel. And I'd like to start by asking each panelist to kind of reintroduce themselves and specifically give a little introduction on what you guys are doing relating to the immersive web and the work that you're doing. Daniel, would you like to start?
Yeah, thanks, Sophia. So my name is Daniel Youngren. I'm the Senior Director for Business Development and Strategy at FutureWay. I'm based in San Francisco Bay Area. FutureWay is a US company dedicated to support openness in R&D. We work closely with other forward-thinking companies around the world in many different domains. We've been involved in standards for the last 20 years, I think. We're active in most open source communities to help build out the ecosystem. And just to say that with the web being free and global, I think WebXR is an incredible asset to drive the XR industry forward. So thank you for having me on this panel.
Absolutely, thank you for that. Dr. Yu, would you like to go next?
Sure, of course. I'm currently serving as the chair for the IEEE Consumer Technology Society Standards Committee and also the IEEE VR and AR Standards Committee. And also I'm chairing the IEEE VR and AR Advisory Board. And a couple of working groups working on the VR and AR standards. So that's I also have several other relative efforts which are not necessarily explicitly related to VR and AR, but also supplemental to VR and AR within IEEE. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Yu. Neil?
Yep. Hey, everyone. I'm Neil Trevett. My day job is at Nvidia, where I help developers use GPUs. But today I'm here representing the Kronos Group, of which I'm the elected president. Kronos is an open non-profit industry consortium. We develop API standards for developers to access the power of hardware devices such as GPUs for 3D and XR HMDs. And Kronos is always very happy to work closely with the W3C and WebXR, as often our native APIs provide the portable hardware access that is used by W3C's web APIs.
Thank you, Neil. And Atsushi.
Hi, I'm at Shimono, working at W3C based at Keio University. So W3C is assigning a technical staff to each working group to support its development and activities. So I'm working for Immersive Web Working Group to support development and deployment of WebXR specs.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, and we'll get more into that in more detail, obviously, on this panel. We've had some great people from the W3C join us in the summits that we've had in the past, and we look forward to continuing the conversation with you all. So my first question is for Daniel at FutureWay. Can you please talk to us more about FutureWay's focus on WebXR?
Yes, definitely. So WebXR is one of our new initiatives. We've started to build up both the business development and engineering resources here in the US to support the awareness and the growth of the WebXR ecosystem. And I would say one of our key goals is to help increase the availability of great content based upon WebXR. And we really hope that this will work seamlessly on as many XR browsers as possible. That's one of our key goals as well. And that's also why we believe that this series of WebXR summits are so important, and why we decided to be a sponsor as well. And to grow the ecosystem and build the confidence that's needed among the businesses to invest in WebXR. I believe that the standards that are already in place, the ones that are being developed in this space, are critical for XR in general, but I think it's even more important for WebXR, considering that all these, the content development, the discovery, the distribution, it's all happening on the open web. So I think that's the kind of the key goal of our involvement in WebXR. But for this panel, I'm really looking forward to hearing more in this panel discussion from these three experts in the space related to these standards. So thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. So my next question is for Dr. Yu. IEEE is doing a lot of work within the VR and AR Standards Committee to develop and maintain standards and provide recommended practices and guides for VR and AR. This is so important to create confidence in this industry and help companies make decisions to invest. That's really why we're here today. How do you see that standards organizations like IEEE help drive the XR industry forward?
Thank you. So actually, IEEE is covering a broad spectrum in terms of the standardization for VR and AR. We have standards working groups covering different aspects of VR and AR. For example, we have our 2048 series, which is currently including totally 13 standards under development. For example, we have the 2048.1, which is about the device taxonomy and the definitions, and the 2 about immersive video taxonomy and quality metrics, and the 3 about the video file and the stream format, and then .4 about person identity, and .5 environment safety, .6 immersive user interface, .7 map for virtual objects in the real world, and also .8 interoperability between virtual objects and the real world. And also we have .9 and .10 about immersive audio, .11 about in-vehicle AR, and .12 about content ratings and descriptors. We also have .101, which is about the AR on mobile devices. And we also have some, we call that post or pre-standardization activities. For example, we have the IEEE VR and AR Advisory Board. Its mission is to assist with the working group and develop something which will be complementary to standardizations, such as white papers, technology outlooks, and also events, things like that. And also we have a newly established global initiative on ethics of extended reality. So you can say that IEEE standardization for VR and AR are not only about the technical aspects, but also about non-technical aspects. And also we do things pre and post and in conjunction with standards development. So that's how IEEE works with the industry to drive the broad spectrum for the standardization needs in VR and AR area.
So I understand that the standards that have been developed or are being developed within IEEE don't overlap with the WebXR specification. How do you see that it supplements WebXR?
Yeah, indeed. As far as I am aware, the standardization efforts within IEEE are not overlapping with WebXR. As you know, IEEE develops many standards which are more or less related to VR and AR, even they are not explicitly mentioning VR and AR in the title. For example, you know that the 802.11 about wireless communications is definitely an enabling technology for VR and AR. And also we have non-technical standards or pre-standardization activities such as ethics consideration. And also we have other aspects or other layers in VR and AR. So altogether, I believe those standardization efforts in IEEE and kernels and also W3C collectively, they will help the industry to quickly build an ecosystem that would benefit everyone. So I do believe these standardization efforts are supplemental to each other, and I look forward to win-win collaboration with all the other organizations working in the VR and AR area.
Absolutely. And comments from Neil or Atsushi, how do you guys see cooperation between the standards organizations?
Yeah, absolutely. The all the standards organizations have specific areas of expertise, and we all need to work together because we're going to need a bunch of interoperable standards that work together. So you know, we need the organizations to cooperate, and we very much welcome that at Kronos.
Yeah, the same from W3C. Actually, W3C is collaborating with many standard organizations on over several specifications, like WebRTC or etc. So this kind of collaboration strengthens us much, and really appreciate for other organizational activities.
Thank you. So I'd like to proceed with a question to Neil. I think everyone would love to hear about how you see the royalty-free and open XR standard, which is the default WebXR backend. How is that contributing to WebXR becoming successful and widely adopted?
Well, thank you for asking. Yeah, because we've been working hard on OpenXR for about 5 years now, and it's a native API. It's a portable cross-vendor API that gives developers access to everything they need in an XR runtime on an HMD device. So in the native land, for the first time, XR applications and engines, you don't have to port them individually to proprietary APIs on different hardware. You can write your XR application once and have it run everywhere. And OpenXR is now very widely adopted. All the hardware vendors, Oculus, Steam, and many others, HTC support it. All the engines such as Unity and Epic have OpenXR backends. So for WebXR, now OpenXR is very enabling, we think, and we hope, for WebXR, because WebXR, of course, needs to run everywhere. The web is everywhere. And using OpenXR, WebXR implementations can access any OpenXR compatible hardware rather than have to write and maintain dozens of different hardware backends. So it lets the WebXR group focus on their value and not just be busy porting to hardware all over the industry.
So how do you see that the GLTF file format, which is another Kronos standard, can complement the W3C's WebXR to drive the WebXR device API to drive the XR industry forward? Yeah,
so if you look at the basic things that every WebXR application has to do, there's three basic things. You have to drive the XR HMD hardware, and that's what the WebXR API provides, running over OpenXR most of the time. It must drive the 3D rendering, which today in the web uses WebGL, which is a Khronos API. And it must download 3D assets, scenes and objects over the web. It's a web app. GLTF is a widely adopted 3D asset runtime transmission format that is designed to be small and easy to process on every device, including mobile. And so, we like that's a bit geeky. So we like to call it the JPEG of 3D. It's easy to process and just as ubiquitous. And today, pretty much any 3D authoring tool can generate GLTF files. So we hope this really helps the WebXR community, being able to focus on an asset format that can be produced by all your favorite tools and be widely shared to any WebXR application. We think GLTF helps avoid a Tower of Babel situation between 3D tools and applications, which is good for everyone, including the WebXR community.
It would also be interesting to hear your thoughts about WebGPU and WebGL.
Yeah, this is an interesting topic. So WebGL, as I mentioned, it's a Khronos API for 3D in a browser. It's a JavaScript binding over OpenGLES, which was a Khronos native API that became pervasive across both mobile and desktop about 10 years ago. So any graphics rendering you're seeing in WebXR applications today is using Khronos WebGL. Since 10 years ago, though, native graphics APIs have moved on from OpenGL. Khronos has the new generation Vulkan API, Microsoft has DirectX 12, Apple has Metal. And so WebGPU is now a W3C graphics standard that's being built right now to provide access to these new generation APIs from the browser, which is definitely a good thing. And when it's ready, WebGPU should provide both more graphics performance and significantly more GPU compute, which is important for many applications using WebXR. So Khronos, we're doing everything we can to ensure developers can have a smooth transition from WebGL to WebGPU when the time is right. But we suspect WebGL is going to be also here for a very long time alongside WebGPU, so developers have the choice of if and when they move over. But we look forward to working with W3C to make sure that developer transition is easy for everyone.
Sushi or Dr. Yu, do you have any comments to add here?
I really appreciate the great development of package of GLTF. Like we have standard image formats and video formats. So such kind of standardized format for media packaging is quite important to be adopted on the web. So yeah, I really appreciate of the activities.
Great, thanks.
Well, I appreciate this introduction to the efforts in Khronos. I think all of these efforts are very impressive, and I'm actually thinking of probably in order to benefit the developers, there's three organizations and also likely other organizations, we can work together to produce something like a big picture, how these different standards as building blocks can work together in a big picture. I believe that would be a very informative and helpful document, something like an infographic or whatever, something like that. I think that's also one direction that we can consider in terms of win-win collaboration.
Mm-hmm. So we've had some other key W3C members that participated in the Developer Summit, and we also got the chance to hear from Dominique Aza-El-Massieu in the recent special edition interview that I got to do with him, revealing his thoughts about the immersive web and the work that the W3C is doing. So we're all very excited now to hear the update from Atsushi at W3C, and I want to open with this question. If you can please briefly explain the candidate recommendation process at the W3C.
So WebXR device API is now working draft in a development phase. And once we agreed that the specification package is well developed, we will transition into candidate recommendation. And once we got into candidate recommendation phase, W3C will issue a request of implementation, which request browser vendors or other vendors to implement it to implement APIs on their system. And candidate recommendation phase is a phase to finalize the specification, including small or narrow areas like error handling or small kind of support APIs. And then once we have 2 implementations over all of APIs, we will turn into next step to the recommendation. So the candidate recommendation process is quite important to finalize and stabilize the specification.
And what do you see are the key benefits for the industry for having the WebXR device API become an open standard?
Yeah, so having the one device API is quite important that we can rely on one united specification all over the world. And also its openness will make users and the developers to not rely on patent protected specifications. So I believe open standardization is quite important to support industries to adopt things on that.
Yes, thank you. And I believe everyone is hoping that we'll get the WebXR device API core spec to move forward as a candidate recommendation soon. What additional steps need to happen before that actually becomes a reality?
Actually, Immersive Web Working Group published the updated working draft of device API last month, and also we published several first published working draft last month and this month. So we are really getting close to the candidate recommendation phase of device API. So I personally believe we can go to candidate recommendation really soon after passing several internal process. So I believe all of key components are well developed and well written. So we are now trying to get approved, including horizontal review, including accessibility, etc. on WebXR device API. So yeah, it is a final phase from working draft to candidate recommendation on WebXR API.
Mm-hmm. And are there additional things that the community can do to support and be involved in the initiatives and projects that you're working on?
Yeah, for a candidate recommendation phase, as I said, we will invite the implementation from browser or other software vendors, as well as we need to correct fixes to the API after while developers are using or implementers are implementing APIs on the browser, like more specific error handling or rare case of errors. So these kind of feedbacks are really keen to get to stabilize standardization.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and so I'm going to open it back up to all the panelists for these next couple questions. Provided that we will soon have the needed standards in place for WebXR, which vertical do you guys believe will grow the fastest using the immersive web and WebXR standards, or stand to benefit the most, I would say?
I would say all of them. I think WebXR's special power, superpower, is accessibility. Now, the web will become the metaverse. The web makes the XR technology that we're all working on accessible, both from a tooling and delivery point of view. And it's that accessibility and widespread availability that is going to communities.
Absolutely. I think we all like that answer.
We all agree. Yeah, I hope for that. I think all of them are important. Social, entertainment, education, just the the advantages with WebXR with the link, you just enter your in the experience, and then you can exit, and then you can go into the next one. The kind of ease of distribution and quick access, I think, is what will make WebXR a big success.
Yeah, and I'd also point that implementation in libraries are also important. Like WebXR API set is quite large. Like we have more than 10 modules related to WebXR device API. So as well as browser implementations, library support is quite important to use by developers, I believe.
I agree, and if I have to rank all the verticals, I would say education and social would be higher priority, and entertainment is a little bit different, because entertainment is not only about technology, but also about a different way of using the new technology to do the storytelling. So I think in order to also let the entertainment sector benefit from the new standards, we need to involve those artists as soon as possible, so that they can learn how to embrace these new tools in their storytelling. Just my 2 cents.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. So I'm going to kind of combine this question with something that we had from the audience. So Daniel Meeks pointed out that he thinks it's the absolute worst when he's prepping for an expo and Chrome or Mozilla decide to update the browser, breaking his web space. And how can he ensure that checking WebXR is a part of the upgrade process? And then I'll also say, combining with that, like, how do you guys see that the development of current standards for browsers to support or challenge the future of WebXR? Anybody?
It's probably a question for Sushi, right?
Yeah, so sort of answer. Yeah, sadly there was several change of point last year over WebXR implementation in browsers. But again, I'd like to point that the implementation of WebXR in Safari seems ongoing. Like some of WCC member company published a press release that they are working on implementation on Safari. So I believe some additional implementation will be shortly out, and we can use WebXR device API more widely in the world. Mm-hmm. And also we hope we can have some integration between Firefox Reality and Firefox browsers.
Yeah, I'm sure we all can't wait for that. So one last question for whoever wants to answer. Over the last year, Zoom and Google Meets have been the way that we do business and attend events like these summits. And provided that we will soon have the needed standards in place for WebXR, how do you guys see the immersive web to be an important complement used for these types of events?
I think the spatial awareness that you can get in an XR app can be a big benefit to social online interaction, but I think we have a big barrier to cross first. We need to be able to convey social cues in 3D. I'm sure we all, in this audience, we've all been into virtual spaces, and you have a tire stand there staring blankly at each other. You're not getting as much social cue information as you're getting on a Zoom call. And I think this is going to take a combination of new interfaces, new hardware, new software, UI technology. We need to cross that barrier, I think, before 3D really comes into its own as a social meeting space.
well, with the combined work that we're all doing in this space, I'm sure that is going to happen sooner rather than later. And I just want to thank you guys so much for coming on and speaking to us about standards in WebXR. This is probably one of the most important conversations that we could have around this medium. So thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing your expertise and insights.
Thank you, Sophia. It's been a
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great.
What an amazing panel. Thank you, guys. It's exciting to see so many experts in this space. And I want to say to our audience, industry standards bodies like Kronos Group, like the IEEE, like W3C are great places to be as a business. You know, if you join as a business, you can have a huge impact on what the direction that these standards go. You can actually be a part of supporting the direction of this technology. It's also an incredible place to find technical co-founders, to find talent. So thank you for such a great panel. And I'm really excited to bring on our next panelists.
Before everybody leaves, let's get a picture. Everybody smile. 3, 2, 1. Like the old school.
See you guys soon. Good luck with the rest of the event. See you guys later.
Thanks,
Bye.
Sophia.
Great panel.
See you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye. Great to see you, Alan. You always got the great energy and the good picture ideas. Thanks everybody for staying with us. This event is just getting started. It's already so incredible. Right now we have